G'day guys, it's MiracleMAX and I'm back again. Look, it's about 35 degrees here. I've spent all day working at the college and now I've got to come home and repair a ride-on mower. It's a Greenfield ride-on mower. I'm sweating like a schmitzver here, guys. Cool change hopefully will come in, but man, is it stinking hot. This thing won't go. I want it up and running out of here. You probably can see that I'm not in my workshop today. I've got stuff in there stacked to the hilt, so I need to get this up and out of here before Mrs. Miracle gets upset with me. Okay, let's get into it. First of all, I'm going to finish my icy pole before I get to work, okay? A few things we might want to note is obviously it doesn't start, as I said, but have a look at the oil light here, and of course the choke is on. I'm sitting on the seat so I know that the safety switch is okay. Let's just crank it. Have a look at the oil light. Okay, so the oil light went out. Some of these, if the oil pressure doesn't come out, won't allow it to start. But in this case, the light goes out, we know we have oil pressure. So that's not the issue. What should we look at next? Well, what makes an engine go? We need fuel, we need air, we need spark, don't we? So we need to check for those things. Let's have a look at the spark first. For those of you playing at home, the Greenfield is a Queensland-based or Queensland-made tractor or ride-on mower. They use a 18.5 Briggs & Stratton engine and a 32-inch deck on them. For those of you that have been watching my channel, you would have seen the little Yamaha Pee-wee 80 and how I check for spark on that. I'm going to do a similar principle one here. Remember how I just used a random spark plug? Chuck him in there. You can see that. And then of course stick that on there, and we're just looking for an earth there somewhere. I'll try and hang this down here so you guys can actually see if there's spark or not. And I'll crank her over, see what she does. No spark there at this point. As you can see here, guys, this is a safety switch, which I've just pulled off. I'm going to have to bypass this because it's a bit hard to sit down and crank and have a look at the spark at the same time. So all I'm going to do is earth this out with a jumper wire to there. I then should be able to crank it and hopefully see spark. I've just been digging around amongst the dirt and I found a fuse holder. Now, look, honestly, I don't know what the fuse feeds or anything like that. But as they say, start with the simple things first. So it could be a dirty fuse and maybe it's not feeding the ignition system, therefore no sparky. But we'll pull it apart and have a look. So just rip that fuse out, and visually looks honky-dory, but look, you shouldn't guess, should you? Always test first. So I've got my multimeter hooked up there. Check across there, we should have continuity, which we do. So I know that fuse is okay. Move forward, Max. What's next? So after much ado, I've been able to get the engine cover off and exposing our little coil down here. Now you can see, I'll zoom in for you. There we go. So see that wire there? That's designed to stop the spark and therefore stop our engine. I've been able to trace that back. It seems to be earthing out somewhere, because if I disconnect it, if I come back over here, where are we? Where have I disconnected it? See that cable that I've disconnected, or this connector that I've disconnected? Have a look at the spark plug now when I crank it. Nice! So obviously we're heading in the right direction. We didn't have spark before. I've been able to disconnect that connector at the coil, and obviously it's earthing out somewhere, so I need to trace that back, find out what the hey-ho is going on. So it appears this thing has a few el problemos. Firstly, it's the safety switch on the seat. It appears to be an intermittent fault, so I'm going to leave that off for now, and hopefully that will continue to allow our spark to flow. But since we've got spark, what is next, guys? Well, fuel. The guy has told me that he's been using E10. Do not use E10, bad news. But what sort of fuel is required for this mower? Let's have a look. So what it says here, as you can see, top with clean unleaded fuel. Doesn't say E10, says unleaded. So I'll give it a squirt of the homebrew and see what happens. Okay, we've either got a fuel problem, either the wrong fuel in it, or it does have a solenoid at the bottom of the carby here, so whether that's not allowing fuel to go through, I don't know, I'll have to check that. That'll be tomorrow's job. So at least it goes, hey. As I said before, this solenoid is at the base of the carby, so if that is not working properly, then perhaps that could be an issue. But one way to check it, of course there's no guarantee that there's not a blockage there, but one way to check it is to put the ignition on, and I'll put my microphone right next to it and have a listen to the solenoid as I put the connector off and on. So did you hear that? So we know the solenoid is okay. I don't even need to check for power and earth at these points because I can hear my solenoid moving. Of course, there could be a voltage drop. I could take that into consideration, but for the moment, I'm not overly concerned about the solenoid. I think it just might be dodgy fuel. That's what I'm going to try next anyway. Change the fuel and see if that makes any difference. So we know that this solenoid down here works, but the question remains, are we getting fuel from the tank? This is a fuel pump here that relies on vacuum over from piston movement up and down, operates a diaphragm in here, and then that brings our fuel into the carby. Now, I'm just looking at that fuel filter over here. Just swing it around for you. Now, if you notice that fuel filter, it's not totally full, is it? Which really it should be. But I'm just going to do a few checks and make sure that we've got fuel coming through here, for instance. In that way, that'll tell us if we need to go back and check our fuel pump, or a blocked filter, or vacuum not coming from our piston moving up and down. Could be an O-ring in the vacuum area. We'll have to see. Okay, first things first, I'll pull off this hose and see if I've got fuel coming through into my carby. That'll make the diagnosis a lot quicker. So in theory, as I crank it, we should get fuel through the fuel line, shouldn't we? Let's have a look. That looked like we were getting some fuel through, didn't it? Still concerned about this fuel. I'll just pull off the fuel bowl and see if it's actually got fuel inside. Then I might just change the... This looks very oily to me. I reckon that's diesel. He's put diesel in it. That's diesel. That's his problem, guys. You can tell diesel, you put it on your finger and it won't evaporate. I'll just show you, I'll get some petrol and I will show you exactly the difference between the two. I thought it might have been diesel. Huts, not going to go with diesel in it, buddy. What I'm going to do now is show you the difference. Put one finger in the supposed diesel, which I know that it is, I can smell it, and one in my petrol off to the side. Now we could wait for a while. I'm just going to blow on it and see what happens. So you can see this one here is evaporating. This is still oily. So that's pretty much gone. But this here has an oily residue. I can feel it on my fingers. You can probably see it too once I get it in the camera. But this one over here is pretty much dried out, but here there's an oily residue. So this was actually what I said to the guy when I went and picked it up. He had a diesel jerry can sitting next to it, and I said, oh, you haven't put diesel in it, have you? And he goes, oh no, that was just a container that we had. I filled it up with unleaded, etc. It's a yellow jerry can, so the Greenfield is yellow, so that's, you know, I know that that goes with that. I wasn't convinced. I'm even less convinced now. I feel very sure that he has stuck diesel in his lawnmower. So you know what I've got to do, don't you? For starters, what do I need to do, Max? Well, Max, what you need to do is pull off your tank, drain all your fuel out of there, make sure it's out of the fuel filter on the way through. Then I've got to drain his carby, etc, etc, put in new fuel, and hopefully we've sorted the issue. Pretty rookie mistake, but that's the best way to check. Put it on your finger, blow on it, and if it remains oily afterwards, that's diesel. As you can see, all I've done is pull off the fuel pump up here, off the fuel filter, etc., going onto our carby, and I've just had the fuel tap there draining all the diesel, and the more I look at it, it's kind of obvious that it's diesel. I've also, we pan over here, I've pulled off the solenoid. Remember the solenoid that we were checking to see if it was active? Pulls in and out, and that blocks off a jet to make it or help it stop. But that, I've drained it into here so that we can get rid of that diesel that was in the float chamber as well. Chuck in some petrol, good quality unleaded homegrown stuff. See if it works. Here's another indicator that he's used diesel. Check it out. Look how oily it is. It's ridiculous. It's redonkulous. So obviously the spark plug's not designed to burn diesel. It's too oily. The flash point is a different temperature, and so I need to clean this spark plug, otherwise there's not a chance in hell that it's actually going to work. It might take quite a few turns to actually get this thing to run. I think I'll hit the homebrew again, and that might explain why when we did start it with Aerostart the other day, that it blew heaps of white smoke. Of course, that's the diesel oil burning off. But I think we'll get it up and running. Shouldn't be an issue. So I've given the spark plug a bit of a blast with the old carby cleaner. You can see the difference straight away. The important thing is it going to spark? It's what we need to find out. So we'll just see if she externally sparks. Oh, dude. Nice blue spark, just the way we like it. Chuck in some unleaded fuel, not diesel. Hopefully a few cranks, maybe a squirt of the homebrew, and she should kick into life. Now, like I said, I don't expect this thing to start up straight away. It's had diesel through it. There's probably still a bit of diesel that I haven't been able to drain, but we're going to hit it with a bit of the homebrew, the go-go juice, and just see if that's going to be enough to pull the new fuel through and get her up and running. So a couple of squirts, see what happens. Yep, it was diesel. God, man, you're killing me, you're killing me. Not pulling fuel through. That's not good. I don't know if the pump's got problems, maybe because it had diesel up against the diaphragm. Don't know at this point. I'll try and prime the system and see how we go there. It may be enough to pull it through. Now I've got fuel out there. So maybe that's what I needed to do all along. Just get some flow happening, hey? What I'll do is I'll pull this down so it's a lower area of gravity, and that should push it through. That should be enough to basically prime it. There we go. Got fuel through there now. Out the other end as well. So that's good. That should work okay. Just get it all set up now, and it should pull through. Maybe it's just because it's still, I don't know, got diesel in it. We'll give it another burl of the homebrew and see what happens. Take two. As I said, I didn't expect it to go first pop. You can see the smoke everywhere. I've primed the fuel pump and the fuel filter and all that sort of gear, and hopefully that'll be enough to fill the fuel bowl and pull it through. So I'll just keep squirting until the thing goes. It should pull in okay, should run okay. It's going to be heaps of white smoke though, hey? Hope the neighbours don't mind. Almost, almost. Takes three. Yeah, take three. Just pulled the spark plug out. It was fouled with diesel yet again. The spark plug itself is okay, but I think it just keeps getting fouled. So might replace the spark plug once it's up and running, but for now, should be okay, I think. give it a burl. So what I'm going to do is, because there's lots of smoke, don't want to upset the neighbours, I'm going to take it down my backyard and just let it run. But she's up and running at least. Yay! Diesel. Well, needless to say, that was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it? But it's not unusual. People do put other fuels in that don't belong. In this case, diesel, being very oily, made a lot of problems across the electrical system as well. Going to recommend to the customer that he gives it a really good run, try and get rid of some of that smoke. It's up and running at least, that's the important thing, isn't it? So, it's all sorted. The old Greenfield is up and running yet again. I hope you enjoyed the video today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and you're more than welcome to comment down below. Don't forget about that notification bell as well. Anyway, I've got a lawn to mow. I'll catch you later.